you playing?
Hello, and welcome to What the Bleep Are You Playing? A podcast where we play a game many times bad and tell you why the bleep we played it. I'm Lightning Sean. This is Radiator Thomas and Mason. And we played...
I am Speed. One winner, 4 losers. Okay, let's do this.
Ladies and gentle cars, welcome to the Radiator Springs Grand Prix. And boy, it's going to be a humdinger of a race, too.
Cars for the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, we did.
Guess whose game this was?
Boy, is it...
I'll give you 3 guesses.
And the first two don't count. Jinx.
Is it me, the one who has, I believe, in recording stated that Cars is my favorite Pixar movie? If I haven't in recording before, I definitely stated it with these two.
It's your
I didn't say best. I didn't say best. I didn't say best.
Sean, I quit.
That's fair.
Like,
that's
it's
fair.
one of those things where
Mason, this podcast is all you. It's all you.
It's one of those things where I can make the distinction.
Want to get some Denny's?
I can make the distinction between best and favorite. Incredibles is obviously the best. Cars is my favorite. There's a difference.
Huh.
These two aren't even in the same league. Whatever. This isn't gonna be This isn't gonna be a podcast just shitting on Mason's opinions.
No, it's also not going to be a podcast just bad-mouthing Cars, because Cars is a fine movie.
Cars is fine. Like it's a 6 out of 10.
I understand that I'm in the minority when it comes to Cars.
It makes sense. You are a car guy.
I am a car guy.
And when you were a kid, lay it in your little race car bed, you could watch Cars and dream about Cars and think about Cars because the movie came out when you were a child.
I would have
You were
been
3.
I was 3 when Cars came out.
You were at the perfect age.
It was like one of the first movies I ever remember. At my old house for like years I had a Cars movie poster on my door. It was like when I turned like 16 or 17. It might have even been a little after that where I was like, this Cars poster's been up here for a while. Maybe I should take that down now. I don't know where it is, but for a long time I had a Cars poster in my room.
We've learned a lot of things that completely make absolute and perfect sense.
Yeah, there's been several revelations and 0 of them were surprises.
There was no, oh my god. No, it was all like, yep. That more.
Whoa, Mason likes Cars. Get out of here.
The in-depth lore on Mason today has all made sense.
So, Cars the video game, 2006. It came out basically around the same time as the movie.
Pretty much around the same time, yeah.
It was published by the company that was pretty much the in-demand Pixar game maker at the time, Thuck. Or HQ.
Yeah, and Cars is kind of an interesting game because you'd think a game with all these wacky, goofy characters would kind of go the Mario Kart route, but it goes for a bit more of a realistic racer kind of thing.
Yeah.
Realistic in quotes, but
it's like a hybrid.
Yeah, they didn't go for like arcade racing. They didn't go for kart racing. This is, in a lot of ways, baby's first NASCAR game or baby's first racing simulator.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah,
is what it is. It was developed by Rainbow Studios, a studio we've actually covered before in a different racing game last season when we did Star Wars Racers Revenge.
Yep.
It was released on the PS2, GameCube, Xbox, Microsoft Windows, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, and PlayStation Portable, all on June 6th of 2006. And then it would get ports over to the Xbox 360 in October of 2006, and the Wii in November of 2006.
It was.
I'm sorry I missed all that. Can you list those platforms again? No, I'm kidding.
It was.
Was there a video game platform out at the time? Cool, it had Cars on it.
It was a tie-in game for a very popular Pixar movie. It was going to have a tie-in on everything.
Which it is interesting because Cars was popular and it made money. It had tremendous toy sales, but it also was the low mark for Pixar at the time.
Yeah.
In terms of like box office revenue.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but the difference is Cars had them toy sales.
Yep,
Cars did
and
have
that's
them
why
toys.
it was a Disney and Pixar could then take the characters and market and throw them everywhere, which made them lots of money. So, like, yeah, it was nowhere near it did not hurt Disney's pockets one bit. It helped Disney's pockets quite a bit.
It did.
They were going for kind of a Need for Speed feel, like with the we didn't do much of the story mode. We almost exclusively stayed to the one player arcade and the multiplayer arcade. But there's an open world story mode.
Yeah, I played a little bit of it. It's fine. Like that's kind of the thing. It's just fine.
That does take
Yeah.
place after the first game. So the story
Yeah.
mode is
I actually kind of appreciate that it's not just a retelling. Like it does continue the story.
I
the
always
movie,
appreciate
yeah.
that. Like, I understand there are some games that I do want them to tell me the story, but I do kind of like the ones that like either do something that's a prequel or after the game or
Right.
after the movie. Because it's like if you finished watching your movie and then you went home and you could play the game and see what happened next.
Right.
You know the funny thing about when I would play this game, and specifically when I would play the story mode, for a long time when we had our PS2, we didn't have a memory card with it,
So you
so
just had
I
to
would keep replaying the story mode from the
That's-
start over and over.
That
and
sounds
over
familiar.
again.
Yep, memory card issues. Yep. I know.
That's
all
why
too well.
that's why I am very familiar with the first couple levels of Sonic Heroes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think considering how many racing games we've already played this season and coming into this game, I'm not going to say like this game is bad because of it. Actually, this game was pretty well reviewed. It was solid across the board. It just feels like a step down from a lot of the racing games we've played. And some of that is that it is meant for a much younger audience.
You said it's baby's first Forza or whatever. Like
Yeah.
Which again, we're coming off of Monsters Inc. Scream Arena a couple episodes ago, and that is, you know,
Baby's first
absolutely a baby
video game.
Yeah, it's baby's first party game. So like, I have no problem playing and enjoying games for a younger audience, but because the Cars franchise is not my franchise or something that I actively watch or seek out at any point, for me it's kind of like, okay. You know?
see, that's the thing. I mean, pretty obvious. You're gonna be into this movie. Fuck. You're gonna.
I did that earlier.
Pretty obvious. You're gonna be into this game if you're a fan of Cars. Like if you like the characters. Yes, put your fucking hand down. You're gonna be into this game if you're gonna be into this game if you're into Cars. It's basically everything you want. You get to interact with all your favorite characters like Weed Man and Army Man. And I don't care. I
And
just
who could
don't
forget
care.
Luigi? No, not the Luigi you're thinking about. That Luigi, the one that
The
one
the-
voiced by Tony Shalhoub.
The one that likes Ferraris.
The car. No,
Yeah.
not the Luigi Hot Wheel. The car.
I think we've spent the first 8 minutes of this podcast and leading up all basically just to say this game was made for Mason.
Yes, it was.
Like,
Yeah.
It absolutely was.
The developers, Mason basically time traveled back in time and was like, hey, Rainbow Studios, make me a game.
Me.
And it's going to need to be this. And they're like, what? And then he disappears. They're like, all right.
I
I went to THQ. I was like, "Hey, you're making Pixar games, right?" They're like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Don't forget Cars."
There's this movie Cars coming out, and you need to.
Is
You
this
need
movie-
to make it.
Pretty-
It is my life.
Yes.
Pretty sure that's what John Lasseter said.
Yeah, probably. Hey, I'm making this movie. You make a game out of it.
And considering this got 2 sequels before the sequel came out,
Yeah, there are
There are a lot of Cars games.
there are a lot of Cars games.
there are 6 Cars games, 7 if you count Mater's Tall Tales, which I do. But
Not to
Wikipedia
mention,
doesn't. For some
not to
reason.
mention in the Cars games, they were easy to make. They're easy money. You don't have, not to say you don't have to put effort into it, but you just have. It's making a racing game. You could spit a racing game out. You know, especially once they got the first game out, you can spit one out every year if you want to.
Yep. Which I think they did for a little bit. I know they did add gimmicks. The second one added monster trucks, monster truck modes or whatever.
Yeah.
And Race-O-Rama added something. I don't fucking know.
This game has 3 modes. We have in each of the versions, in arcade or 2-player, which is you have your Piston Cup race, which is your NASCAR race, 12 laps, go around.
In a
Honestly, it was
circle.
pretty decent
Yeah.
NASCAR race.
You have
Pretty
your
decent.
you have your rally races or whatever they are.
Yeah, your
Road
rally
races.
races, your
Road
off-road
races, your
races,
off-roads.
which have 3 different levels of how you play, how of skill to them, and then you have your mini games, which your little silly party games that again also have different levels of each of them. So there's different ways to play this game, even if you are not playing the story mode necessarily.
And the mini games they range from like being like fairly in depth, like the tractor tipping one, which is like a very very dumbed down version of like Metal Gear Solid, where you're sneaking around and you have to tip the tractors. And then there's like and there's another one that's just like race around Willie's Butte 3 times and power slide, and you're done. And then another one that's like drive around Radiator Springs and drive backwards sometimes, and you're done. Press some buttons when they highlight, and you're done. Like that, they go from like fairly in depth to also incredibly basic.
Yeah,
And
it's kind
even
of
the most
thing.
in-depth ones are pretty fucking basic.
Again,
And the in-depth ones are, yeah.
nothing here is meant to dissuade young gamers from playing.
This isn't a groundbreaking game, but it's not meant to be.
It's meant for a younger audience, but also can be enjoyed by a slightly older, growing. You could see your 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-olds still getting into this game,
Yeah.
if they enjoyed the movie.
Right.
Yeah, it's not just like, oh, that's just for 5-year-olds. Like,
Right, no.
it could have been. I do think there was a bit of, especially in the 2-player mini games, I wish there were more of them. I wish they'd kind of leaned into like just a bunch of like fun little weird like Mario Party esque little mini games, but what they have, they're fine.
It was interesting that there was stuff that was like locked away behind single player. Like there were only some racetracks that you could do in single player, or there were only some mini games that you can do in single. That felt a little weird.
And there were only some characters in each mode. Like it was weird that you couldn't play. Like you could unlock all the characters, and we definitely did that without using cheats. No cheats here.
I remembered one of the cheat codes.
It was amazing.
I am very proud of myself for that. I know I shouldn't be, but I am.
No,
I don't know what piece of like information had to be lost from my brain to be able to remember that for as long as I
I can't remember
have.
my mother's maiden name, but I can remember the cheat code for Cars
Cars
2006 on the PS2.
In
Yes.
fairness, it was Mason's crowning achievement in life in anything that Mason has done. Mason graduated high school. That's not as important as
breeze.
remembering
It's a breeze.
remembering the cheat code.
Having
But
to remember that cheat code for as long as I had, that was the real.
But it was weird having a
Really?
lot of characters that you could race in the Piston Cup, and then you go over to like the rally race, and it gives you like 2 or 3 and 4, and things like that, or vice versa. You're like, why can't I play this character in this race? Why can't like
Yeah.
I get that maybe they were trying to stick to like where they were supposed to be in the story, but like there's a fun part of these games, especially the games, is being able to take characters and put them in different scenarios than they were in the movies.
Yeah.
And so that was a little bit like, oh. Especially, I feel like for a kids game, that would be something they would do. But again, it wasn't. It's not a deal breaker for the game. It's not something that makes it unplayable by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh no! Oh,
But-
far from it.
No,
It is definitely something
It's just a
interesting.
weird thing they did.
Yeah.
We've been talking about the racing games a lot that we've been playing. Fall right into another one with pretty decent controls as a whole.
Yeah,
It doesn't like the controls are fine, but like control of the car is not as easy.
It's-
I can't drift for shit.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what the hell is.
The drifting
I don't know
was
what it-
not easy in this game.
I don't know what it was, but like for some reason, because I played a couple of.
Or the drifting
Same-
was really easy. We're just bad. That's a possibility as well.
Yeah, that too. But there was a point where I was playing a couple of single player races because I wanted to try out some of the other modes. And I actually found power sliding easier playing by myself for some reason. And I don't know what it was about that, but it just
Because I was doing what I thought the game said to do with power sliding. It didn't fucking work.
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
really work now.
We also go into the like kind of the camera and the mechanics in this game with it. I I don't hate the camera in this game, but I definitely didn't like it.
Weird. It's so weird.
For the most part, it's fine. There will just be occasional points where, for some reason, it gets locked in a really weird position.
Mm-hmm. And then in a lot of the mini games, that camera can be really frustrating.
The tractor tipping one specifically.
It's the whole point. It's meant to be the fucking Metal Gear Solid thing, but it's like, I don't know. At a certain point, it just started pissing me off, and I just got bored.
And and then we also, in the mechanics of the game, found that it's a mid-2000s racing game. There are moments where you can literally just drive through random things. You're like, what?
Yeah,
Mason drove through just a mountain randomly, which cost them wins.
That did happen. I don't know how that happened, but it did.
Obviously, Mater is God.
Yeah, and broke the universe for a second. It was...
I am become death, destroyer of worlds.
I don't know why I said God and you went Oppenheimer, but all right.
And
are you alive?
So this game...
Sean, do you need a second to recover from that?
This is what happens when we play Cars. I think my biggest complaint of this game, and the gameplay at least, and I understand why they did it. We explained why while played it, but like, if you drive a little bit off the road, they start a countdown of 3, 2, 1, and it's fast, and then they put you back on the road.
Sometimes they put you back in the lead, which is cool.
See, that's the thing. Like, it bounced back and forth when it worked. Because, like, sometimes it would be like 3, 2, 1, and I'd get plenty of time to be back on the track, and I'd be like, okay. Sometimes it'd be like 3, 2, fuck you. And
And I think that was, and I understand the mechanic. It's meant for kids who, maybe can't steer as well or drive as well and are off the road a lot to make sure they're always getting back on the road.
Yeah, God forbid you see little Timmy with the fucking steering wheel set up for this game.
But I'm also bad at driving, and I like to drive in my racing games. I like to be off-road in a lot of my stuff. Like, I like to utilize the best, because I know I'm going to have wider turns and I'm going to slide more and things like that. I like to utilize the environment or the off-road ability to get me back going or catching up. And I could never do that because I was always being timed out.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating for me because I'm bad at racing games.
It always seemed to end rather like right before you were about to get back on track. At least that's from my experience.
I feel like if they had just made it 5 seconds instead of 3.
There's just also moments like, where it looks like there's one of the tracks where you can get off and you can hit a cliff and it's like, oh, I see the track right below me. If I go up there, I might actually get moving. Oh, nope, they timed me out and now I'm back at a different spot. And why?
Yeah.
And it felt like for a game that has a lot of tracks that have shortcuts, it really discouraged trying to find the shortcuts.
Yeah, that's true. It did kind of feel like that.
For me, that was the thing that held me back in this game more than anything. And again, it's a fine game. It's fun and I'm sure you sit down with a bunch of friends who all enjoy cars. You're young. You got your however many Mountain Dews your parents are gonna let you have, and have at it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people have fond memories of this game. Mason.
Yeah, or you could just be like me and just play the game by yourself for hours, which is what I did. I played this game a lot as it.
Oh, what a surprise!
I wasn't very. I don't remember being very good at it, to be fair, but I did play it a lot.
But I just feel like there's not a lot that would draw me, someone who was nearly 20 years old when Cars came out, to play this or want to play this and sit down and do it a bunch.
Huh. You see, you say it like that, but I don't know. It is because I'm the car guy. But if a movie like Cars came out today, I would absolutely go and see it.
Because you said exactly because you're the car guy.
Yes.
You had the race car bed.
I had the race car bed. I had my room painted like a road. I had license plates all over my wall and car posters and all. The entire Cars franchise was basically made for me.
Fucking nerd.
Pot calling the kettle black over here.
Mason's life.
I never said I wasn't.
Mason's life is a highway.
He wants to ride it
All night long.
This game has a shockingly good soundtrack.
That's
by the
right,
way.
we didn't mention that.
That
That's
is what
a
I was going to
great
transition
soundtrack.
to. Yes, the soundtrack is really good. Like they have a lot of good, interesting. Even if you don't recognize some of the songs, and it doesn't seem like a lot of them are from the movie, but they all fit.
Yeah.
And there are several tracks you're just playing where maybe you're not necessarily really into the game, but you're able to just chill and drive and feel good.
I'm listening to that music and I really like it.
Yeah,
Some of it sounds like a CW transition track, but you know what? They picked good tracks for that.
A lot of it reminds me, a lot of my memories with this game and with the soundtrack specifically was just driving through Radiator Springs in the open world mode and just driving around and listening to the music, honestly.
No shit, that's what I did.
Yeah.
I would just, when I was playing the game for a little bit, I didn't do a lot of missions because I was just driving around Radiator Springs. Like, yeah, I like this song, so I don't want to go on a mission.
Yeah.
One of the other very specific memories that I have with this game is there's different parts of like Radiator Springs and different open world areas that you unlock as you go through the story. I didn't know that as a kid because I kept playing the same damn levels over and over and over. But that didn't stop me from going over to where the part for the next level was, where there was like a roadblock there, trying to drive as fast as possible and hitting it to see if I could try to get past. I do that over and over and over again.
God forbid this game had burnout style crash cams.
Yeah, and I think for me, this is the thing, again, remember I was 19 when the Cars franchise came out. Wow. And what games were out that were cool car racing games? You had Burnout and Need for Speed and even a little bit of Grand Theft Auto and things like that. Yeah. That would be what I would have gravitated to more and more than ever grabbing this. And again, that's the age difference here between you and I, and that's perfectly okay. And I think sitting here, you legitimately, a lot of your fun is that you're sitting here, not that you didn't have fun playing it, but you also have a lot of that nostalgia and that enjoyment from it. Whereas I come in here, I'm just like, yep, that's a Cars game. It's not bad. It's fine. It's fun. But it's a game. And so I think that's kind of the disconnect between you and I for this game.
I think that's probably is what it is.
There's always going to be that disconnect. I also have that disconnect. I grew up with Cars, but I also just, at a certain point, I was just like, yeah, that exists, and I moved on.
That makes one of us. I never moved on from Cars.
It's still here.
For God's sake, like late last year, rather, I started watching the Cars on the Road show. Because of course I did.
I've actually heard that's pretty good.
It's pretty
like
decent.
I've actually heard that's pretty good.
It's short. They're very short episodes, but it's a fun time.
I've only seen one clip from it, but that clip did make me laugh. So
it's
there
a
you go.
it's a decent show.
I would like to meet the kid who watched Cars and was like, I don't really care for this, but then watched Planes and were like, oh, that's it.
The same kid who probably plays Microsoft Flight Simulator all the time.
Planes. See, I've always loved the Cars franchise. The Planes movies are where I drew the goddamn line.
Well, because you're not into planes.
Yeah,
I'm not into planes, and
remember, Planes was just Disney animation, had nothing to do with Pixar. It was just capitalizing on the look of Cars.
I mean, a lot of the advertisements literally marketed it as from the world of Cars.
Oh yeah, they marketed it from it, but remember, nobody associated with Cars had anything to do with Planes.
The most interesting thing about Cars to me is, one, the plot for Race-O-Rama, the third game. It's a fucking shonen tournament, basically.
Awesome.
Lightning McQueen goes around the world, and he's like, I want to race you, Lightning McQueen. He's like, what? 2, the canceled Cars movie, Metro. Or rather, the canceled movie from the Cars universe, Metro. It's going to be about trains. What a shock is the one I was interested in. But because they're always racing. Like Planes was about a race, Cars is obviously about racing. Metro was going to be apparently a throwback to the Warriors.
What?
and I was just like, huh.
Trains? How the hell?
I want to see this, and I'm very sad that that did not happen.
Hell. That is
It,
wild.
it was apparently it was going to be kind of a throwback to the Warriors. I mean, a throwback to the Warriors. I'm pretty sure it was just a train gets lost and is trying to find his way home and goes through a bunch of trials.
Probably.
So
Still, there was a lot of potential in the Cars universe, and I think that's kind of why they tried to do something with Cars 2. Yeah.
They did. They tried.
They did a thing.
By God, did they do a thing?
That I have my problems with the Cars universe in general, but that's for another time and another place.
That's
You
for
know-
the inevitable podcast episode when Mason makes us watch.
Well, when Mason
Cars.
makes us watch Cars.
So you speaking of the Cars universe, you brought up planes earlier, just to show my goddamn dedication to this world and this franchise. I'm probably one of like 3 other people in the world who can look you dead in the eye and tell you I watched Planes, Fire, and Rescue in theaters. I was brave.
The line between bravery and stupidity grows thinner every day.
I was going to say, put that on a shirt.
Yeah, I watched Planes, Fire, and Rescue. I watched Planes, Fire, and Rescue in theaters, and all I got was a size of t-shirt.
Exactly.
But to be fair, it was a little bit against my will because my grandpa brought me there, but regardless, I did do it.
That's like me saying, I watched Peter Rabbit 2 in theaters. Cool. I didn't choose to do it, but,
That's the thing that makes me arguably the worst. I've chosen to watch half the bad shit I've seen.
That's fair.
I chose to see Jonah Hex, baby.
I mean, same. I also chose to watch Furry Vengeance.
I didn't do that.
I
so.
chose to watch Cats and Dogs, The Revenge of Pussy Galore.
Kitty Galore.
Kitty Galore.
Pussy Galore's
Pussy Galore's
Pussy
the Bond
Galore's
chick.
the Bond chick.
Yeah, the one that's paid Kitty Galore.
I also watched that in theater.
All right, well, you can tell what we've thought a lot about this game that we've gone off on the track on movies
We've
we
got
watched
a
in
massive
theaters.
tangent.
Surprise, surprise, that's what we do. But, yeah, I think as a whole, this game is perfectly fine. I think the reviews are pretty much my thought on it. It's not. I wouldn't review it poorly, but I also wouldn't review it highly.
My thoughts on Cars the game is my thoughts on Cars the movie. 6 out of 10. Probably never going to touch it again.
This game was everything that I remembered it as being when I played it the first time, and that's all that matters.
So, do we want to transition to our questions?
I just want to, from that, just have to say, the amount of times that Mason has made me play a game from childhood, and me not being like, this is the greatest thing ever, is usually going,
This isn't the last time that's going to happen.
I'm aware.
I was going to, yeah.
Who knows how long this podcast is going to go? So,
Yeah, there's only a finite amount of games I played as a child that we can go through.
That's fair. That's
It's
fair.
still gonna happen though.
Well,
God forbid that does happen when I run out of games from my childhood play. I'm like, what do I suggest now?
what do you
What do I do? It's that plankton meme. I don't know. I never thought I'd get this far.
yes. On this podcast, we ask 2 important questions of every game that we play. The first one is, how does it hold up?
Well, like I said earlier, it looks exactly how I remembered it looking at as a kid. I think it's held up well.
I think it held up fine. There's some graphical things that are, but it's also PS2 era, 2006, as the transition into the new generation.
Yeah, it's PS2,
so you had some of that going on. The weirdest thing I think was the voice acting, that I was sure that it was like, imitators trying to do their best, Owen Wilson and Larry the Cable Guy and Michael Keaton and all these, and then I looked it up and I go, they all did the voice work for this
They
game?
all did the voice work.
Honestly, I mean, graphically, I guess look at that out of the way. I thought it was actually pretty solid.
Especially the cars. The
I was
cars
gonna
look
say,
really good.
The cars actually do look good.
I do want to see though, because you said there was a 360 version.
Yes, and a Wii.
And a Weaver. I want to look up what the 360 version.
I'm pretty sure the 360 version is just smooth textures.
Is that it?
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
probably.
guess.
I doubt they spent a whole lot to up the graphics on Cars, the video game.
4K, baby, let's go. Yeah, it holds up fine. It's a fine baby's first racing game. Like I said, similar to Cars the movie. I'm not gonna go back to it, but it's fine.
There's nothing in it that broke the game, that made the game unplayable, that made it like, that happens over time. There are some weird glitches in it that, if it was worse, would be like, oh yeah, this is unplayable or now in a modern setting. But
we did have a little bit of it did freeze a little bit, but I think that's mainly
age.
yeah.
age. Yeah.
So it held up fine. Like it held up pretty fine, and I think actually, as far as the game goes, it will continue to hold up fine. Like I think that's what we've seen here is it'll be what it is for still many years to go.
Yes.
The second question, and quite possibly the most interesting question we're going to ask about here is, would you like to see a remake or a reimagining of this game in a modern setting?
No, I was actually gonna have you guys go first.
That's fair.
for fuck's
We'll answer it and then let Mason gush for an hour why why the 14-car video game cinematic universe needs to happen.
Oh no. Yes, get ready for the Vader game.
Fuck. I'm gonna go on my fallback. Just put all 3 of the OG ones in a collection.
The THQ Pixar.
The THQ ones. THQ Nordic exists. They remade SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom from the ground up. I don't think you need to remake these games, but I think if you put them in a collection, maybe smooth the textures out, up the graphics a little bit.
I'm on the kind of the same way with Thomas. Like, if you put in a collection of like the Pixar games, specifically this era, what the THQ ones was that Incredibles,
It was like Incredibles,
Ratatouille, Cars. I think
Wall-E
might have been all those ones. Put them on a nice little collection. It'd be fun to go back and visit them.
There is the issue that these games play so separately from the new Cars games, Cars 2 and 3, which are better. They're just better. They're just better in every way.
I think that's kind of why I would put all those Pixar games, those like this one, those like 3 or 4 Pixar games into one collection that you could play kind of all of them, enjoy that little bit, because this game is kind of an era feel, like it feels for its era type of game. A lot of it, as well as those other games, kind of at the same. But it would be an interesting like collection sort of thing that like you don't have to really up the graphics that much, but other than make them, put it in HD, cool.
If you're going to remake a Pixar game from the ground up, it has to be Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue. Let's go, boys.
Yes, that is the correct answer.
So here's my answer. If you recall back all the way to the first season, when we did the Ben 10 episode, my answer is going to be pretty similar. So you've already brought up the other 2 Cars games, 2 and 3. They are very different to the first game. I played 2. It is incredibly fun. I think it plays a lot better than this game, than the first Cars game. It's a lot better at being a kart racing type game because they include a lot. They include items. I think the boost system is better in that game. And then 3 is basically just like 2, but but it looks better and it has characters and locations from the 3rd movie. What I would like to do is make a new game that combines the stories of all 3 movies, but it plays like 2 and 3, where the story mode is just one continuous string in between all 3 movies, and you also throw in every single character from the first 3 movies, slam them all in there as like one massive racing roster, and turn it into this big, huge thing. I know that'll never happen in a million years. That's what I want.
The only way I could see that happen is not if they did all 3 stories, is if they did an original story. Mm-hmm. Like they did an original story that took all of them, because God forbid you did one that combined all 3. It's like Cars 1, a rookie racer trying to find his way. Cars 2, genocide. Cars 3, that same rookie racer finally realizing it's time to give up.
Yeah,
God forbid the pattern continues and Cars 4 is about Mater stopping a satellite from burning a hole in the earth.
Cars 4, directed by Roland Emmerich.
When are we going to get the Cars Smash clone?
I'd play it. I would play it.
Of course you would.
They have to slap Cars on a video game, and I think...
Yes.
You think Mason would buy it?
Yes.
It's a game. It's a franchise that I think well, you can tell one of us is very passionate
I
about,
was gonna say,
and the
one
other
of-
two
It's
are.
telling us no.
Yeah. I've been hiding it all this time. As I rip open my shirt, Lightning McQueen just tattooed on my chest. No.
Just a full Owen Wilson as like it's Owen Wilson's face, but on like
But
a car.
on Lightning McQueen's body. No, it's on like a Honda Civic. It's not even remotely close to Lightning McQueen.
Wow.
The live action Cars movie.
Good
Don't give him
Lord.
ideas.
Please, no. I love cars, but no.
Space is like my line will be drawn, and it'll be after I watch that movie.
Listen,
And
I,
it's 2 sequels.
listen, I may have watched Planes, Fire, and Rescue in theaters, but I have a line.
And they will not meet it.
It's, yeah. I mean, look, I'm not gonna say there isn't stuff that I'm nostalgic as shit over.
Oh, yeah,
that
we
I'm
all
going to
have.
be blinded by, but this is not that for me.
Yeah, this was kind of like it was fun to play this game simply to go back into this time frame when I didn't play a lot of the like kids games like this. Like at that time, where I was, a lot of those tie-in games I missed, especially the Pixar ones. And so it's fun to go back and play them legitimately. Like that's something that I look forward. We are going to jump in the future into more Pixar games. That is on the docket in the future seasons. Like we want to play more of these games. We've done 2 already this season. So
Yeah.
That's right, we have.
But what do you guys think? Did you like the Cars franchise? Did you play any of the video games? What is your favorite Pixar video game? Let us know.
What's your favorite Pixar movie?
Yeah, let
Yeah,
us
It's
know.
why
not Cars, you're wrong. No, I'm kidding.
You can send us an
If
email.
it's not Cars, you're right.
Send us an
It's
email.
brave. Get out.
Send us an email to bleepyouplayed@gmail.com. That's bleepyouplayed@gmail.com. Or maybe you'd like us to play or watch a Pixar film. You know what you can do? You can go to our Patreon. Patreon.com/whatthebleep. And you can subscribe. We have a special tier called the Super Bleephead tier. And if you subscribe to that tier for $15 a month, you can tell us to play or watch something. And we will do it as long as it doesn't break the bank. So please do that. We would like to see more of that. We'll be back with more. Well, it might be my nostalgia this time. Next time.
Burn it.